We are talking about Kai Cenat, people. So, a lot of you might not know, but I did Fashion Month. I just came back from Fashion Month. So I did London Fashion Week, then I did Milan Fashion Week, then I did Paris Fashion Week. Now, when I was in Milan, I was invited to the Gucci show, and I did have the chance to interview Kai Cenat. That video went super viral. It was on Complex, it was on Lil Jupiter, it was all over the internet. This is the interview. I'm going to play it after. I'm just giving you guys kind of like the background. So this was essentially after the Gucci show. This is still actually in the show space in Milan. And I met Kai Cenat. Now, some of you might remember that I made a video. Well, in a stream, someone asked me about Kai Cenat and what I think about his brand. And I essentially said, like, I don't really know, to be honest. The brand kind of looks like Kai Cenat kind of creating a brand that's inspired by brands that he wears or brands that are, popular amongst, let's say, Gen Zs. So like the Rick Owens and Chrome Hearts and all those kind of brands. So I was like, his brand hasn't necessarily been like super interesting, at least not from what I've seen. And then I also said I thought that that whole like journal thing was performative. So it's not performative to have a journal. I don't think it's performative to have a journal. But I think using a journal as like a tool to be photographed with, as like a marketing tool, is a bit performative, to be very honest. A lot of designers have journals. A lot of designers do sketches in their journal. That's not the issue. It's kind of like the optics of someone who clearly doesn't come from the fashion world and is trying to embed themselves in the fashion world. It just comes across as performative when you do stuff like that. So anyway, let me play this Kai Cenat video interview that I did in Milan after the Gucci show, and then I'll give you more context on this Kai Cenat situation. Demna's debut Gucci show, and I'm here with
Kai Cenat.
So, Kai, what did you think about the Gucci show? I think it was insane, but what did you think?
I'm speechless, I ain't gonna lie. There's a lot of looks I like. There's a lot of looks that I like. I'm just grateful to be here and take all in.
How do you think this helps, obviously, as someone that's like working in fashion now? What's the context of this? What has kind of like inspired you? Speak on.
Just learning how to tell a story on the runway and appreciating, the clothes that are on the runway, down to the models, down to the walk, down to the looks.
Right.
I felt my soul felt some shit. I ain't gonna lie. I'm in there motherfucker like, damn. I'm thinking I'm in a museum, but man, it was good. But I don't know what it was. I was right here front row. I'm just grateful. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah. Demna is really, really important, I think, for the new generation in terms of designers and people influenced by fashion. What do you like about Demna as a designer, even back from his work at Balenciaga? What do you think about his work?
He take a lot of risk. He was the first person. He was the first person to introduce an experimental thing, in my opinion, during my childhood. That had my mom when I was young, like, what the fuck?
Right.
The triple S's and shit. Like when he did it, like it was amazing, and I loved it. Yeah.
Okay, so we just finished Demna's debut Gucci show, and I'm here with
Kai Cenat.
So first thing I will say, this interview let me know that Kai Cenat does get a lot of unnecessary hate. Like, it's unnecessary. So for example, at the end there, he said, I asked him like, what are his thoughts on like Demna's work? Because it was the Gucci show. And he was like, oh, Demna is like, he takes risk, which I agree with him. Kai's not wrong. He said that one of the most experimental things that he's personally seen is like the triple S. And people are like attacking Kai, like, what does Kai know? That's not the only experimental thing that's happened in fashion. He only got into fashion a few years ago. My rebuttal to that would be that Kai literally said to me, he didn't say the most experimental thing in the world is XYZ. He said to me the most experimental thing. So that let me know that, oh damn, he really does like get a lot of unnecessary hate, to be fair. And it made me kind of like reflect on, am I a hater? Not in terms of Kai Cenat, but just in general. I think with Kai Cenat, my assessment was very fair, but it just made me assess like, am I a hater when it comes to certain things? It just made me think about that. Also, when you watch the interview, like I'll play it from the start, just the start, so you guys can see. Okay, so we just finished Demna's debut Gucci show, and I'm here with
Kai Cenat.
So he was like giggling right at the start, and like my manager and I were really confused, like why he was giggling at the start of the interview. And then he actually sent me a DM and said that he's like seen my content. So then we were like, he's probably seen the video where I said like what he was doing was performative, which I still doubled down on that. I literally doubled down on that, but I'll show you guys the DMs now. But I'm still doubling down on it. But it was interesting because that adds some like new context, some spicy context to the whole situation. So these are the DMs between me and Kai Cenat. So after the interview, he had to like run, or he had to like do something basically. And so he was like, I'm sorry I didn't get to speak to you for too long. Just wanted to tell you that not a lot of people are committed like you are, bro. Good shit. So I was like, hey, no worries. I appreciate it. Also love the time and effort you're putting into fashion. Not gonna lie, I was skeptic at first, but you won me over with how much time you're putting into this fashion shit. From linking up with Law Roach and Kid Super to learning about the production process. And then I put in brackets, not that my opinion matters, but I definitely think a lot of my contemporaries in fashion media believe in what you're doing and wish you the best. So that was after Kai Cenat. He has this YouTube channel. I'm not sure if you guys know. It's called Kai's Mind, right? And more recently, there have been videos that he's posted where he's like spending like a long time in like Italy learning about production and like all this other stuff. So I was like, oh, when I watched that channel, I was like, oh, he actually cares. Like he's not, because what he was doing at first seemed very performative. But then when I'm like, oh, he's actually spent months in Italy learning about production and stuff. So he genuinely cares. Like he's actually putting in way more effort than I've ever seen from like a celebrity. Well, I know he said literally that he doesn't see himself as a celebrity, but I think he's a celebrity. He's like ultra famous. So I mean, like, he's ultra famous. I don't know how he can say he's not a celebrity, even though he said that. So in terms of like, you know, really famous people that start a brand, I think the level of care that he's put into it, I think is quite impressive, and I think it's commendable, and I think that he deserves like a level of respect for that. But reading on, he said, your opinion does matter. It's the next generation, bro. I watched your video and I saw you said you thought it wasn't genuine and performative. And I wanted to just share the process because I was excited. But I noticed you can't do that in 2026. I've been working on this since January of last year before anyone has known. So the thing is, that whole thing about him being performative, I don't think it's only me that said it. So when he was saying he saw my video and saw that basically I said he was being performative, which is true. That is what I said. I think ASAP Rocky, there was a video of ASAP Rocky that also said that like what Kai is doing, maybe ASAP Rocky didn't specifically say performative, but I'm paraphrasing, but ASAP Rocky basically just said something along the lines of like, if you're trying to be taken seriously in fashion, like this is not the way to go about it. And that was kind of like the point I was making. I think the problem with like Kai Cenat's strategy is Kai Cenat is an exceptional streamer. Like he is the A tier, God tier level of streamer. And what the strategy that you use to become a good streamer is like hard work. You put in a lot of hours, you're personable, you're entertaining, you share your story, you document your life, you kind of bring your audience with you into everything you're doing. Fashion is like the opposite. Fashion, you kind of have to be mysterious. Because the problem with fashion is that if you document every tiny thing, it doesn't allow any mystique, and it also to fashion people, so to people like me, if I see you watching a video learning about what LVMH is, which to me is like very rudimentary in terms of like fashion knowledge or fashion history, it doesn't come across as the kind of person that is just learning about what LVMH is probably not the kind of person that is going to create this like insane brand. That just becomes the perception. And like, you need to understand that. So that's why someone like ASAP Rocky, someone like me, if I was to talk to Kai, or if I was to advise Kai about the way he goes about documenting, and I won't show you guys all the messages, but I even said when we were messaging back and forth, it's not really about documenting. That's not the issue. It's kind of like how you do it and the way you do it. Now, obviously, stuff like this is very natural to me because I'm already a consultant. So I do this for brands every day, all day. I like fundamentally understand how this works. What you want to document is the process in terms of like design. So basically, this is how I see it. Kai Cenat his perception is that he's a streamer trying to enter fashion. So anytime you document something, what should be at top of mind when you're documenting should be, how can I document things in the way that I overcome this perception of being a streamer that's trying to get into fashion, and how can I change that perception into being a fashion person? So my advice would be, everything you do, you have to look at it through that lens. If you're a streamer and you're watching a video of like, what is LVMH, that kind of confirms to a fashion audience that you're not a fashion person and that you're a streamer trying to get into fashion. That's what it confirms. If you're if you're with John Galliano in John Galliano's studio, it confirms to people, oh, he's with real designers learning about real fashion. So it's just what you're documenting. The issue is it's not that you can't document, it's kind of how you do it, and it's kind of the way you do it. And that's the difference. That's like the major difference that I think was not being understood. So when he said, I just wanted to share the process because I was excited, but I noticed you can't do that in 2026. It's not that you can't do it. That's not it. It's just the way you go about it, to be honest. And then the next one, just to read. Oh yeah, I was talking about the clip from a stream about me saying what he was doing was being performative. And then Kai said, I get it though, because celebrities often come into the game and money milk it and make bullshit with no time and effort. From noon to 4 a.m. I'm working hard. I'll try to show that more. And then he put, I'm not a celebrity. So that's commendable, first of all, because like I said, the reason why my mind has changed about Kai Cenat in general is because I've seen how much work he puts into it. And I've genuinely seen how seriously he takes it, and I've met him in person, so I like know. So I guess that's like the difference. But I think with Kai, regardless, Kai is so influential, especially for like a younger demographic, that I believe however this brand goes will definitely influence a big sector of, where fashion goes in the future. Like there's so many people that are like, I got into fashion because of Kanye West and A$AP Rocky. There'll be a whole generation of people that will be like, I got into fashion because of Kai Cenat and his brand Vivet. That's why I think what he's doing is very important. And that's why I like talking about it. And I think it's really important. And I'm like following the journey because I think it's going to be like really influential because of how influential he is as a person. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk about that. The fact that I did actually have a conversation with Kai Cenat about the brand. And just to reiterate that my mind has definitely changed about the way I perceive him, or the way I, perceive his brand. I definitely perceive it in a better light. I definitely will always, I'll double down. I think he needs better advisors. Like, I'm just going to say it straight because I don't come onto the internet to lie to people. He needs better advisors in fashion. Like, the way he's going about his rollout could just be a billion times better. I don't know what fashion person he has in his corner. Whoever they are, they're not good enough. Straight up, point blank. They're not good enough. He needs better advisors. And that's why I like that he had the conversation with Lucas Abart, and we're going to be watching that because I deliberately haven't watched it so I could react to it in real time. Lucas Abart would be a good person for Kai to have in his corner because Lucas Abart actually understands how the fashion system works from all angles. Lucas Abart has worked with luxury brands. He's modeled for luxury brands. He's been in campaigns for luxury brands. He's been around the fashion industry for a really long time, from all angles too, the streetwear side, the luxury fashion side. Lucas Abart is actually a very good person. I don't know if Kai has access to A$AP. If he does, that would be another good person for Kai to, get information from. Law Roach, I know that Kai has met Law Roach already, but I think constant communication between Kai and Law Roach is definitely good. Law Roach is also someone that truly understands the way that the fashion system works. So I just think those people just need to be telling him how to go about it in a way that it's taken a lot more seriously. So yeah, I think that's really important. Leo says, yeah, I agree. His team needs to reflect on the current pre-launch promotional strategy because currently he is being thrown in the fire by these methods. Agreed. Even if it's not a fashion person, the people on his team tasked with marketing are using very generic methods of engagement that are hitting walls that industry-specific marketing tactics wouldn't. Yeah, like people don't understand that like the fashion industry is so different to other industries. Like a lot of celebrities also don't understand how big. Let me give you an example just to kind of add, because Kai Cenat might watch this video, who knows? So I actually want to give, because I'm actually a fan of Kai Cenat. Like I stream, so of course I'm a fan of Kai. Like Kai is literally the upper echelon of streamers. So I used to watch his streams just to learn about, even though we talk about completely different things, just to learn about like streaming strategies. So I genuinely want him to do well. Like I even said, even in the initial video where I said what he was doing, I felt like it was performative. I literally at the end said, I still want him to do well though. Like I'm not wishing bad. So the thing is, there's just a different way to do it. A lot of people don't understand how big fashion is. So one service that like my manager and I provide is we work with a lot of like big musicians and we help them kind of navigate Paris Fashion Week. So we introduce them to the PR companies. We get them into a lot of different fashion shows. These are like high profile musicians, like singers, rappers, entertainers, those kind of people. We get them into fashion shows, we introduce them to designers, whatever. Some of these people, maybe because in the music industry, they're like well known or they're big, so they're used to being able to call the shot. So they tell us things like, we aren't coming to Paris Fashion Week unless we get into XYZ show. And my response is always, well, I'm not gonna lie, the way that you dress, no one would associate you with that brand. So it's very unlikely that XYZ brand is going to, invite you as a VIP because you're not part of their community. Like, it doesn't matter how famous you are. There's more famous people that are going to be VIPs at that show. And those people find it so hard to understand because maybe in music, everything they ask for, they probably get. But like in fashion, the front row is going to be like Kim Kardashian and like Paris Hilton and like A-list celebrities that are way more famous than these musicians that have big egos. So I always tell them that unless you dress in that way that makes sense for the brand to like court you, or you're like known as a fashion person, or they're gaining something out of it, there's literally no reason for them to have you at the show, and that's why they will say no. And it's so hard for them to understand. So a lot of like people that are famous in different industries, they just don't get it. It's like these brands make 25 billion euros a year. They don't care. Like, you are literally irrelevant to them. Just because you're famous, they don't care. Like, they make 25 billion euros a year. They don't care. They just did a campaign with like Beyonce. They just did a campaign with Louis Vuitton. Pharrell's Louis Vuitton just did a campaign with Rihanna. These are like A-listers. They do not care about you. And it's so hard for people to get that into their head. So like a lot of, going back to this Kai Cenat thing, right? It might be very difficult for his team. I don't know who's advising him because his team are obviously very good at what they do. Kai is only as successful as he is because of him, of course, but his team. But fashion is just a different ball game. It's a different beast. It's completely different industry to any other industry they've probably ever had to navigate. Now, in the fashion industry, they don't care. Like the fashion industry don't care that Kai Cenat is famous. They don't care how influential he is. They don't care how famous he is. They don't care about his audience. They just don't care. Fashion people are like, okay, how good are you as a designer? Okay, let's see your designs. Okay, what do you know about fashion history? Okay, do you know about fashion in the 80s? Do you know about anti-fashion in the 90s? Do you know about the famous couturiers? Do you know about Paul Poiret? And do you know about Madeleine Vianney? And do you know about Christian Dior? Do you know why Christian Dior is famous? Do you know what he's famous for? Do you know about Cristobal Biaga? Do you know why they call him the master of us all? Do you know about different, fashion systems in different countries? Do you know about Savile Row? Do you know why Savile Row is so important to tailoring? Like that's how the fashion industry works. And if you don't know any of these things, you're just not taken seriously. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how famous you are. Because however much money you have, these brands have more money. The fashion industry people have more money than you. So that's why they don't care. And it's so hard for people to like get that into their head. It's like really hard for people to understand that. And that's where the issue happens every time. So that's why I say that Kai needs like fashion specific advisors, like people in fashion that he can talk to. And if you're watching this, send me a DM, whatever question you have, I'm always going to answer it. I don't need money or whatever. I don't really care about stuff like that. I genuinely want to see you do well. But I just think that, there's just like better advice that needs to be given. That's basically what I think. But isn't it numbers in the end? If Kai sells enough he will get taken seriously. Not really, because like, so the thing about fashion is that in fashion, there are these very specific gatekeepers. You can't really exist outside of the system. I don't really know any designer that completely exists outside of the system. Like, can you guys mention like a designer that's like really successful that is completely outside of the system? Eventually, you're gonna have to like, there's people in the industry who have to take you seriously enough. Otherwise, you might not get favorable rates in terms of production. Or, okay, I'll give you an example of like why the industry needs to take you seriously. So a good example is like a lot of the big brands, they have leeway with a lot of factories worldwide because they have the big contracts with factories. Now, a lot of these brands can literally start telling factories that we are the only people that are going to use XYZ leathers, XYZ cottons, XYZ, wools. No one else is allowed to use it apart from maybe this brand because we just like them. So we're going to let them use it. Now, these factories financially cannot afford to not do what these big brands say. So if you're Mr. Independent and you want to use this factory and then the factory is like, well, you want to use that fabric, we can't use it because that fabric is only exclusive to XYZ brand. And then you now have to start like courting your way into the system to use certain fabrics. You have to court your way into the system to get more favorable rates. From a manufacturing standpoint, you have to court the system to, be in the schedule of Paris Fashion Week or Milan Fashion Week. You have to start courting the system to be taken seriously by PR companies so that you can sign them, so that you can be represented by the likes of Lucien Pagès or Carla Otto or KCD or those kind of... So that's the thing. It's not as like, people think you can just exist outside the system. You can't really. That's not really how it works. Jerry Lorenzo is extremely not outside of the system. Jerry Lorenzo is not outside of the system at all. Like, not even close. Jerry Lorenzo is very much deep in the system. Yeah. It says it's also especially nuanced for him because his strategy needs to allow for him to grow past being considered just a streamer, and his brand can be allowed to be perceived through the fashion lens. 100%. So one thing I think that would help Kai Cenat is if Kai Cenat talked about very technical things that he's been learning. Because I'm so sure him spending all that time in Italy, all the people he's met, he's probably learned some very technical things. I think him telling his audience about these extremely technical things would be like really positive in terms of like how people perceive him as a streamer and stuff like that. So I think that's something that would definitely be like a net positive in terms of perception, rather than the more simple stuff that he tends to talk about when he talks about like documenting his fashion journey. I mean, it's not like he's learning how to construct the mass production appropriate methods that we know of. See? So this is exactly what I mean. So if I was his team, if there's ever a class where Kai Cenat is learning how to do pattern making, I would want to document the first pattern that Kai Cenat makes and kind of Kai Cenat talking through why his pattern is that way. Because that is like his audience are going to learn a lot from it. And the fashion people are going to be like, oh, he's like, it's not performative. It's not just a video. He's actually telling us and rationalizing why his pattern is that way and why he's measured it that way, because he's trying to account for the waist or, the leg. So that's the thing. It's just the way you do it. Maybe because I'm a consultant, I just think that way. It's just the way you do it. It's just the way you do it. It really isn't like rocket science. It really isn't rocket science. Let's go into something I wanted to talk about quickly, because people have been talking about Kai Cenat having a hate wall, which I find very interesting. I'm not sure how many of you guys are aware of this, but Kai Cenat basically in the video has a wall of just like haters that he uses for motivation. And he talked about it in a video. So we're going to watch that.
So we are currently designing in Italy, 600-year-old villa where everything is a little bit older. But I want to show you guys the power to embrace hate. Embracing hate, you guys have found ways to weaponize it. And I used to struggle with like caring about what people thought. So.
Oh, copyright. Not the Travis Scott. But yeah, this is just him talking about like the hate that he receives that's on the wall to motivate him even more. Now, I don't know. So the problem with this is like, unless the hate is coming from people that like matter, the problem with the internet is like, you can't really take what people say on the internet seriously. Because like, okay, for example, people know that I'm a consultant in the fashion industry. I go to fashion weeks, I go to Paris Fashion Week, I go to Milan, I go to like I'm very much deep into the fashion industry. And then on the internet, there are people like, some people literally argue with me about like brands that I'm literally in the boardroom. That's just the way the internet is. So you can't really, a lot of times you have to take the internet with a grain of salt, because most people that like hate are the kind of people that like don't leave their room. Like most people that are commenting, especially like really hateful things about like Kai Cenat, these people have probably never done anything in fashion ever. So I just don't think it's useful for Kai Cenat to like really think about or care about any of this hate, unless it's coming from like people that are really influential in fashion, then maybe. But if it's just like some random people on like, you don't even know like who they are or where they are. Like the amount of people that have argued with me about really silly things, where in my mind I'm just thinking, we literally did the strategy for this with Nike yesterday, and this person's arguing with me about it. Like, this is insane. So I just think, I don't know, like the hate war thing, I don't think it's useful personally. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. But I thought it was interesting because a lot of people talk about the hate war. So it's very interesting. I really want to know what do you guys think about the hate war? I mean, make a goal list of shortcomings to overcome, sure, but a hate war. Here's the thing, if he only used to struggle with caring what other people think, then he wouldn't have a literal wall of their criticisms printed out. Agreed. Even if it was from notable people, maybe a wall of criticism, but that just encourages more hate. Yeah, let's see. Interesting. Let's see. This shit's so corny, bro. On the wall. When this itself is corny. Nothing wrong with being sensitive and being motivated by hate, though. But that's the thing, like, that person that said, oh, this shit corny, bro. Like, who are they? We don't even know who they are. Like, it's just some random person on the internet. We genuinely don't. This person could just be some like random person rotting away in their basement. Like, we genuinely have not seen these people in the flesh. That's why I just don't think you should like put too much energy on comments like that, to be honest. I just don't think a lot of energy should go into that. Personally, that's what I would say. This YouTube channel runs on your support. If you want to support the channel, you can subscribe to my Patreon. You'll gain access to exclusive content that includes everything from my Patreon podcast, where I give a behind the scenes insight into the fashion industry, as well as a fashion book club where I review my favorite fashion books. You can also check out my fashion ebook, which highlights the best fashion journalists to follow, definitions of common fashion terminology, and how to determine what a good source of fashion information is. The links to everything are in the description below.